Welcome to the People Prescription, your daily dose of People Ops wisdom. Today we've got Alex Whitelaw and we're going to be speaking about AI, people and business performance. Great to have you with us, Alex. Perhaps if you give us a bit of info about your background, your work and why you care so much about AI.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. Really nice to be here with you today. Yeah, I'm Alex Whitelaw, AI consultant, but also not only with that, we offer a few elements in terms of support with AI. So we do a consultancy function where the aim is just to support SMEs with AI adoption and what that looks like in their business and keep it simple for them. We then offer training elements. So I've partnered with a training provider where we offer literacy training, and then that's going to then advance into other elements of training at the same time. And then also I've partnered with a global tech company where we can offer end-to-end AI-powered intelligent automation that it can implement digital assistants within businesses.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. And why would you say this conversation matters right now? AI is moving fast from what I've understood. Many business owners, they're a bit concerned perhaps they're being left behind or they're concerned they might be adopting it badly. Is that a fair assessment?
I think there's a lot of people that feel like the rabbits in the headlights at the minute.
Right.
Like there's so much being thrown at you, and you go on your socials, and it's AI this and that tool for that and that, and you only have to have a conversation about AI, and next minute your algorithms are throwing every bit of AI at you. So there's so much noise going on that it doesn't need to be complicated. Keep it simple. Like I'm a big believer in like just simple steps, keeping it easy, trying to visualize what it will look like, and that's as simple as like how you use the simple LLMs, which are your large language models, which are your co-pilots, your Geminis, your Claude, your ChatGPTs of the world,
Right.
putting the right prompt into them and understanding what that looks like, as well as the security element, which is huge as well. So making sure that everything in your business stays in your business at the same time, through to then understanding where automation can operate in your business. There's so many elements, and upskilling your staff at the same time. There's some real key important bits I feel that people are diving in because they feel they'll need to dive in, but actually just keep it simple and just learn yourself from the top, but train from the bottom at the same time.
Absolutely. And for those of you that are new to the podcast, so I'm Rich Tunnicliffe. I've got a company called the HR Doctor, and we support businesses through the HR Doctor app, which essentially is an AI modeled, powered driven app that people can use, and it gives them access to day-to-day steers on general day-to-day topics around HR. Looking forward to unpacking all of that today, Alex, and it's going to be great to see how we can use AI as a productivity multiplier. And yeah, let's get into it.
People are still discovering it, and there's a bit of a race on at the minute between people are like thinking, oh, I need to convert to Claude instead of Copilot. People aren't necessarily using it to its full potential, I don't think, but I think there's also an element where people are almost setting it loose, but not understanding it and having a
Right.
full control. And I think that's where there's some other elements that, like, people are thinking it will just literally do everything for them, and it just won't at all. You've literally got to train it for the individual tasks that you're doing. And if you want something that's going to be end to end, that's where you need to look at automation and how
Right.
you can implement automation, AI powered automation into your business, which is ultimately like software robots.
And these are already available now, aren't they? From what I've understood,
Yeah. So as well as just understanding your LLMs, which are your large language models, which is your co-pilots of the world, the chat GPTs. Like, and if you go on, like I do like a monthly, I call it click bait understanding, like the browsers, the software that's clicked on the most each month. And ChatGPT is still way above any of the others, but that's only because it was like one of the first.
yeah.
So, like, I still use ChatGPT because I've been using it for like over 18 months now,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
terms of like in nearly 2 years, in terms of when it was like, and it's been out for, I think it hit its like, I think it was early this year or the end of last year. It hit its like, I'm sure it hit its fifth birthday. So like,
Cracking.
it's been
Yeah.
around that long, but just the people knowing about it has been like, it's been on that upwards. Like we're now at this sort of coming down a bit now.
I'm with
Here
you.
probably before then it's going to come up and then be on a plateau where it's just the norm in terms of the LLMs. But people go AI, or AI will do this, but there's so much to AI, and I think that's the understanding that then where people are trying to get themselves to understand where it fits, and especially where it fits into the businesses. Like LLMs are one thing, and you can train agents. You can train an agent to do a certain task in Copilot, for example, and you've got Coworker as well in Claude. You've got agents that, again, in ChatGPT that you can train as well, and that's just to do specific tasks for you. So
Right.
you would drop a prompt into it based on you training it to know it needs to go away and look in a certain set of folders. So this is what, again, I think especially in HR, there's a lot of, I suppose, research that has to be done in terms of looking in folders, pulling out information, especially around, I'd say, training as well, like understanding where all training certificates are and all that. And businesses have already got that folder structure set up. You can then train an agent that just dives into that section where them folders are, if that makes sense. So you can then ask the question, oh, when does Dave's first aid run out? And it will go away and pull out the certification that's in there and go and find it for you. So it's going to save a lot of time on that front. But that's very, like, agents are very specific. And I think one of the understandings at the minute, which I'm trying to get across, is understanding where the different elements of AI sit and where it sits into businesses. Yes, you've got your LLMs, and I refer to LLMs as being large language models. So they are your Copilots, your Claudes, your ChatGPTs, your Geminis, them sorts. You've then got like other tools that are supporting you and a lot of now CRM systems are a good example where they're bolting AI functions into it. So you can talk to the bot that's in the LLM system if you can ask it questions. Another one
About
that's
what's in the CRM as well, because people are very conscious about if they let something in the door, what kind of thing is it going to do once it's inside, and where's that information stored? Like, how can you? I believe the terms like sandbox.
yeah, and that's about knowledge understanding. Like you
Yeah,
can literally set the settings on it so that nothing gets sent out. So all your security is all within the business still. You're not sending anything out. It's just sourcing on, it's just bringing information in rather than sourcing out. When
I'm
you
with you.
train the agents, you train them specifically to sit in your business because you're going into your network of OneDrive, for example. So there is ways of doing it. I personally think the best way for people to understand it is by doing some elements of training
Absolutely.
and upskilling staff along them side of it. Because at the minute, you're going to have Dave over there using ChatGPT, Fred using Copilot, Dorothy over there is using Claude, and you've got no transparency across the whole business.
So it needs to be one tool, but the right
So
tool.
the business needs to almost make a decision of what is that tool going to be,
I'm with you.
how are we going to then use it, how are we going to use it in the business, how are we then going to train our staff on that as well, which is so everyone's singing off the same page, everyone's using it in the same way, because if everyone's doing that's where the business is going to make the benefits, because that's where the cost, the savings come in of
Right.
time.
Yeah.
And if you're saving time, you're saving money at the end of the day. A lot of
100%.
businesses, and especially like smaller SMEs, I would say, and into the. I'm working with some medium-sized enterprises at the minute, and they're stretched. Like they're really busy. They're struggling to get good staff. They're really stretched. But with everyone being stretched, everyone's overwhelmed a lot of the time. Everyone's then not probably as productive as they can be because they're overwhelmed with the amount they need to do. They're
Right.
constantly firefighting. Therefore, they're not looking at the business in the right way. That's where AI can really help and free people's time up. I have two really good examples that I use with my clients that come to me and that are not using AI. And I really want to get involved with AI. I'm seeing it's the future. I want to bring it into my business. What's the best thing to do?
Yeah.
So there's a few steps that I do. One is do some training yourself as a business owner. And we're offering AI literacy training. So
Right.
part of our offering is I've partnered with Peak Intelligence and we're training it, and we've got a great HR, AI HR literacy training
Right.
specifically for HR. And I would recommend going on that because it teaches you the basics, the literacy side of things. And that is about the security elements. That's about the settings that you need to do. It's about having transparency. It's about understanding the policies and how to work it properly. an AI policy as well. That is something that businesses will need to look at doing and putting in place. So
Definitely.
start with the basics, then you can understand it yourself. Then you can think, actually, yes, I think, for example, Copilot is best for us to implement in the business because it's linked to our 365, it links to our OneDrive, we're Microsoft anyway, so we'll implement that as a basis. We'll start using Copilot, we'll get everyone in the business using Copilot, so everyone's singing off the same hymn sheet, and then we'll select like a cohort of individuals in the business that we're maybe then going to put on the training. And while we put them on the training, I might do a next level of training so I get a bit of a better understanding, because then I might decide that because of this cohort of people I'm putting on the training, I'm going to pick a couple out of that to put on some more advanced training where they can then look at implementing training agents to sit in the business. Now, a lot
Right.
of this is on YouTube and you can watch it, but what I'm finding at the minute is businesses are so busy concentrating on what they're doing at the minute. It's hard then to think, oh, I need to take this new thing in.
I'm with you.
So that's where like you can lean on doing a bit of training or lean on individuals to bring individuals in the business that we do, for example, and we can come in and help and support with that element at the same time. So I would start from two-pronged. The owners at the top need to train themselves to bring it down, to cascade it through the business how they want to be, but also
Right.
start training from the bottom up at the same time. I was just going to
As
say
you're
that.
sharing that there, what I'm really curious about, what I'm interested in, I know when we last spoke, you mentioned in our last session that AI can give you 6 days of work out of 5. I thought at the time that's a bold claim, but actually, as you unpack it there, which we're doing now,
Yeah,
from
you
it,
touched on one little bit as well, like by
yeah,
implementing and using like a tool like Copilot in your business, and if it tags into your Microsoft 365, it's
yeah,
sitting there. Literally, you can help it sift through your emails. You can
I'm with
set
you.
an agent that would then prioritize your emails for you. It will write replies for you by you prompting it in terms of like so you just skim through your emails and then I'll reply to Fred about
Right.
a meeting we've got or X, Y, and Z, and it'll just draft the emails for you. Like it won't necessarily send it; it just drafts it for you, so it saves you doing the typing. What the other thing as well that you can do that a lot of people don't understand is on your laptops or your computers, you
Hmm.
can dictate to it as well. So you literally can bring your Copilot up. You can then dictate to it rather than typing away. You can just talk to your laptop, and that just as simple as pressing the Windows button and H as a shortcut
Yeah,
literally brings up a dictation tool, so you can dictate to your laptop. You can
yeah,
bring up Copilot, open it up to draft you an email, press the dictate button, or you're just talking to your laptop. I'll write me an email response to such and such. This is what we need to do. This is the strategy. This is how we want to do. And especially in HR, when you're dealing with staff, like it's some
100%.
people are just, the overwhelmingness of it all comes in, and that's where these tools are just there to help you. All it's going to do, yes, this gets 6 days worth of work out of 5. We're only talking about one little nugget here in terms of using an LLM. You've
Right.
then got to look at businesses in terms of the amount of meetings that some businesses have, the amount of time that's taken in actions and minutes, and like especially in HR when you're sitting with an employee, you're running
Yeah,
through, you're making sure
disciplinary
you
hearings, flexibility
absolutely
meetings, all that kind of stuff. There's
the
loads of
world we're in now.
opportunity.
Absolutely, you can literally just record the whole meeting now, and it is literally you get the full transcribe.
Yeah,
And that
yeah,
full transcribe knows then who the speakers are because of the different tones of voice. It can then give you a summary. You can then put the summary into an LLM, for example, Copilot, which will then write you an email on the back of the meeting you've just had. So, how
right.
much time is that going to save you
Love it.
in, term,
Absolutely love it.
in
Yeah,
terms of you're not even sat there typing notes or actions or that? It is literally doing it for you. I wouldn't just let it do it and release it. You need to read it if it makes some tweaks and changes. It is not perfect, but that's that. The great analogy I like to use is it's like a cake. I don't know if when we spoke before I mentioned the cake analogy,
right.
but AI is like the sponge in the middle. That sponge in the middle of a cake is only as good as what you put into it. So how you use the tools, how you prompt it. And again, like I'll share with you, we've created a prompt framework through Claude, and
Right.
I'll share that with you so you can share it with everyone. It's basically just a prompt framework out there that's got 5 questions, and it just helps you create the perfect prompt. That's if you want to
Awesome.
go proper deep dive. A lot of people understand that you can just literally talk to them, but what I was saying is it's only as good as what you put in. It will do the middle bit for you, but then if you think of a cake, you've still got to ice it, you've still got to put the candles on, you've still got to sing happy birthday. So you've still got to do the work at the end, so you've still got to check it. But that's just a couple of snippets of AI. You've then got like the full implementation of AI automation, and people will understand that they're probably using CRM systems where you can interlink like sequencers through automation in emails, for example. So you can set up sequencers to notify your customers, notify your client. If you've got an onboarding process, for example, there might be a set sequence of emails that you want to send out, and you can set a sequence up for individuals or customers, clients that are in on your CRM system. That's one element of AI software where it's automating and drafting and sending emails out for you. That's good in terms of communication at the same time, because communication's key, and people aren't necessarily always good at communication. It's always a challenge, I think, especially in HR, like making sure the right
100%.
communications come across all the time. So being able to have a system where you can automate set emails, set newsletters and all that. But you can use, I know companies that in the past have spent hours like creating newsletters. AI can help you with that now. You can do a theme, like you could put a strategy together for a year of a monthly theme every month and create a newsletter for that. It could all be done in like literally a few hours. Whereas
Yeah,
people are
definitely.
spending hours and hours putting that sort of newsletters and things together. But then that could be set into sequences to send out. So that's another bit of AI. The other bit is the automation side, where there's literally, we've got the ability to train a digital assistant, which is a software robot, to work in a business. And that is doing a job that a human would do. But what that's doing is, because people are so busy and overwhelmed, it's just freeing them up. It's taking away the mundane processes. Like you, HR, you think about the amount of processes that are
Absolutely.
there through, like the other one. I'm going a bit sideways with what I'm saying, but as things pop into my head in terms of what's little nuggets that can be taken away, what some companies are doing now is having like little bots that sit within their companies, like a
Right.
HR bot. So what that's doing, rather than the HR manager or the HR senior HR person getting bombarded with questions all the time, or what's the policy for maternity, or what's my paternity leave, what's the policy on that, how many holidays do I get, what's all this being bombarded by different angles all the time.
Right.
There's the ability now to set a bot up that's linked to all your policies and all your systems, an agent, so to speak, so that people can just ask the bot, oh, how many days
Okay.
holiday do I get? And it answers the question for them because it's gone into the policy. It's gone into the
Exactly.
file. So the
Saves
amount of
so much
time
time.
saving that that's doing as well. But I went on to automation then, and the automations are really, really clever, because you're training a digital assistant to work in your business. And this is specifically training it exactly how you want it. So this
Right.
isn't like you're using like a large language model, which we were referring to earlier, co-pilots, because they do hallucinate. It's not always perfect. It's only as good as what you put into it in terms of the answer you get back out of it. This is actual software robots that are trained to do a task within your business. And that is a process. So every business will have a process that they do. If it's a client onboarding journey, if it's an employee onboarding journey where they need to make sure all certain documents are in place, they'll have a tick sheet to go through of need to send them that, need to send them that, needs filling out, that needs filling out, that needs filling out. Oh, what's the training? Have we got that? Where are we catching that? You can literally train a software robot to do the sort of admin based tasks, which is then in turn going to free people's time up to then concentrate on actually the bigger picture, not be so overwhelmed. And the productivity then in turn that's going to come out of businesses that are like releasing people from this pressure of constant firefighting is going to be huge. And that's where
Absolutely.
this whole, like, I think I've probably captured about 4 or 5 different simple tools. That's
Hmm.
where your time savings come in, but by doing little steps on each of them. And don't get me wrong, this is, some people think, oh, it's too much. It's just going to massively overwhelm me. That's where it's this whole start simple,
100%.
do
Yeah.
some simple training, just get on the ladder one step at a time. Don't think
Yeah.
you have to do it all at once. So part of what we do is do a roadmap.
Right.
So we do like an assessment of a business, a bit of a deep dive. If give some quick wins, get you using Copilot and get you recording meetings, for example. And then
Hmm.
at the end of that, once we've understood the business, we'll then give you a roadmap. in a phased approach. So it's do that first, get a cohort doing that with a view that then in a year's time you'll have everyone in the business using it, just so that it doesn't overwhelm people. It'll probably come quicker than that, because as people start to use it, they'll be having a coffee in the canteen and be saying, I've started using this. It is insane. It's incredible. The word of mouth will
Which
mean
fast,
people are
yeah.
starting to use it. Because if someone finds something that's a little nugget or a gem, they spread the love, don't they? I found this, I'm doing this, it's ace. You've got to start using it. But
Yeah.
that's where, from the top, there almost needs to be some control as well, where there needs to be a policy set. We're using that. There needs to be this set, and that's what we're going to do in terms of our strategy, if that makes sense.
The
But
HR angle, I think, the repetitive people ops tasks, yeah, 100% agree what you shared there. The nuggets that I'm hearing at the moment in definitely in people ops circles is around the document review example. So cutting days of work to minutes by being able to use these tools that you're sharing there to review through documents that are actually,
yeah,
they are quite dry. It's quite a dry, so it's important. I'm not saying it's not important, but it's quite a dry exercise. So to use these things to free your team up to ultimately be more people ops focused and at the front line with the people, being authentic, having conversations like we are now, I see this is very much it's a multiplier. And the bit I'm hearing the most from there is why overcomplicate it to begin with? Start small. I use this analogy a lot where it's if you're going on a journey and you say you're in a ship, if you change the direction of that ship, even by a degree, over a long time of that journey, it's going to change the destination completely for you. And that's quite a big, it has a massive impact in the long term by adopting these small changes. And the
yeah,
modest changes are ultimately what make the biggest impact over a long time. And the bit that I'm hearing here is really from a people ops perspective, how can we use and leverage this tech in a way that's going to free up leaders' time to lead? That's the bit that's I find super exciting about this kind of
yeah,
technology. Coming back to your point though, Alex, about AI literacy, and there is an element of fear, I sense, in communities, in teams, in businesses, where perhaps this is something I find to be one of the larger barriers for people who are ultimately the sort of lacking an understanding and utilising the training that you mentioned that, for business leaders, especially around things like security and data. And what would be some of the simple things that you'd suggest to really make sure that if they are going to look at adopting it, how can we create a rational response that means that they're not going to dismiss something, that business leaders understand and know a little bit more about, okay, well, what would a sensible decision look like? And your opinion, one thing I like about our conversations is that you're very practical. It's not about the technical aspects of what you're sharing, it's the practical aspects. And I love that
yeah,
because I think that's a lot of business leaders I speak to are incredibly pragmatic people, are very outcome focused people. So they like to get to the point and they like to understand, okay, from a practical literacy point of view, what kind of data security and policies do they need? What questions should they be asking as a responsible employer before they're giving the team these access to tools and access to AI tools? So from your perspective, what would you suggest there? What are the simple things that you touched on that could help?
I think, first of all, simple training, just to get an understanding. If you've got no idea or you've just started playing around with it, like everywhere I go now, people are talking about AI. Like I was having coffee in a coffee shop the other day and just overheard a conversation of a guy saying, "Oh, have you tried that, doing that?" And then it
Right.
made me smile the other week. Some ladies having a cup of tea and they were all, "Oh, I tried this the other day. I created a photo of this, that, and the other." And people are playing with it. So it is out there and quite common. I think as a business, you need to keep things simple, I think, because overcomplicating things will just make things messy. The policies and understanding how the policies are key. And that's where this simple literacy training can come into play. It isn't expensive to do some simple training in the business. You can get a couple of people, a few people trained to start off with, and that will be telling you about how you set the security settings on your LLMs, which are your large language models, which is your
Right.
co-pilots, or how you can control it in your business as well, how it interlinks into the security aspects, how like your data protection and GDPR is all confined, so nothing leaves the business, it all stays in. There's a lot of worry about it, but then like you go back 20 years and every business used to have a server room, and
Right.
there's not many businesses with a server room now. So it's all gone up to the cloud. So all the data's already up in the cloud, if that makes sense. So people are going, actually, do they understand how secure that data is in the cloud anyway? They've
Right.
just let it be controlled up in the cloud or in the data, but it's not in the cloud, is it? The cloud is a data center,
I'm
but
with you.
the security systems. But what people also don't understand is the governance that are in place around AI now. There
Right.
are literally governance being brought in to make sure that like data protection, GDPR is all confined. The key to it is keeping in your business now what's in your business, keeping it in your business, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So that's not just so that's making sure that you got the settings so nothing gets sent out for a
Right.
starter. Because then if you're sharing sensitive data, especially around HR with like policy, not only policies, but like people's documentation, there's some really sensitive information.
Definitely.
So making sure them settings, and that's where if 100% if you've got HR manager or whoever's in charge of HR in the business, I would literally, I know I'm banging on about this training, but it's literally literacy training for simple. We have got a HR training element as well,
Hmm.
which is like specifically for HR and will run through all of the safeguarding, the policies, how not to send any data out, how best to use it. And the guys that we've got that are training it, and this isn't like watching a video, this is like online with a trainer. So
Right.
it's very powerful that you've got an individual actually running you through it. You go off and do exercises in the training as well. So it's not just to fly through a training, it's a 2 hour session where you've got breakout sessions to go away and play with it and do it. And because it's HR related, it's like very specific around what roles and responsibilities apply within HR, which is clever
Definitely.
as well. And don't get me wrong, we're doing other elements in HR in the training as well. So like I'm taking a lead on my background operations, but like construction operations. So we're doing
Right.
AI for construction, if that makes sense as well, just to segment it away. But I know that most businesses have got a HR manager that deals
Yes.
with the training, that deals with the onboarding, that deals with the people, which deals with all the problems that come with that.
Hmm.
And that's where I would start by this basic training for them to get an understanding. And they might be like, oh, I'm already using it. I was already using it. I went on the training and I learned some new things.
Yeah,
Like,
and
and that's
every day's a school day with this, isn't it? What I find with AI, especially because it is such a new thing and it's novel. There is that aspect of we're all in this together. We're learning it as we go, and that's good. I find that's actually really
yeah, yeah,
helpful from an engagement point of view. But what I also find, Alex, is that there's underlying current around. Okay, does this mean that AI replaces people? And the risk is that businesses sometimes can use AI as an excuse to avoid developing the people. So from a people ops perspective, I think what's really important to highlight here is as you're sharing that there, I'm thinking you're helping people with the training to build a bit more judgment skills around, okay, what's the wisdom going to remain from, what are the human advantages of delivering a product? Not all businesses have their own internal HR teams. Like one of the things that we do with the HR
yeah,
Doctor product is that it gives them an outsourced HR manager
yeah, yeah.
effectively. And it's a lot more cost effective to do it that way than having somebody in-house.
Absolutely. But there'll still be a specific person in the business. It might
Absolutely,
even
yeah.
be the
It could be an
business
office
owner
manager.
themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. The office manager, the business owner themselves, they might be using like yourselves, which is great that they're doing that.
Hmm.
Like an absolute will bring absolute benefits to them, but they've still got to sit and interview someone, for example. They've still got to go
Absolutely.
through an onboarding process. And now as well, we're in this world with like if you've got a job advert and you know as well, like the job adverts will go through HR. I want to employ someone, if that's either the business owner or the office manager or someone, an advert goes out, we're going to go into a world where even more and more people are going to be applying. It's how then do you sift through the AI of them CVs now?
Absolutely. And what's authentic? This for me is a really big point. If anything, I see it as a multiplier. So where does AI stop and human leadership begin? In my view, it's freeing people's time up to do that selection process, using that example there, to get in front of people, to do like a working interview with somebody to establish do they have the right values.
I'd probably add something into that. I had a really good conversation with someone yesterday around like HR and employing people because I
Right.
get asked the question, are you taking people's jobs? No, I'm not taking
No.
people's jobs. We're training people, we're freeing people's time up. Don't get me wrong, there is elements where people will lose their jobs in the massive organisations,
Right.
especially where the digital assistants come into play. One digital assistant can do the role of four or five people, and you've
Right.
got one person just kept in the loop, if that makes sense. And
Yes.
that's the key to it, having the person in the loop. Smaller scale, it's just freeing people's time up. Bigger scale, but my then challenge to the business owners then is that if you're freeing someone's time up, or if you've got a finance department, for example, that you then put in a couple of bots in,
Right.
you're losing five people. Where are you weak in your business? You struggle to get good staff. Most business
Mm-hmm.
owners say, I struggle to find good staff. You've got good
100%.
staff in your business. Let's look at retraining them.
Definitely.
Do
And
another
retrain
function.
them into higher value roles as well. This is the thing that I find a lot of business leaders, they're missing a trick in the sense that you don't necessarily find good talent, you build good talent within your
Absolutely.
organisation. So the L&D piece, that learning and development piece, what you're touching on here, this is really for me what it looks like in a business with, say, 30 to 50 people that are working there. The
Yeah.
goal's really about positioning the AI agent to handle the routine stuff so your
Yeah.
people can do the more meaningful work that probably, if they were honest, they'd probably say, actually, you know what, I get more meaning out of this. I enjoy this
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
than doing the tick box stuff. And the tick box stuff, in my view, let AI handle that. How do you
Yeah.
bring your people along with that journey without losing them? I think that's the key, especially
Absolutely.
the HR angle. For me, what you're sharing here is I'm hearing a lot about how do we go through a good, solid change management as a people skill. And
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
use a model called Edward de Bono's The Six Thinking Hats. And really, the best way I can describe it really is it's a form of being able to go through information and it helps people think. So it's really a thinking skill that you can practice, you can improve. It's exactly like doing sport or getting involved in music, doing gaming if
Yeah.
you're interested in gaming. The more you do it, the better you get. And it's like going to the gym. If you're practicing a good thinking model, then over time, the more you do it, you'll find a better way to explore ideas together. And that's the bit I'm hearing here. Creativity matters, having a beautiful mind for people so they can explore things in a way that it's not about necessarily arguing about what's right, it's finding the truth of the situation,
You
and
can
that's
you
what's
can
needed.
do more projects as well. So
Yeah.
before, where you probably got involved in doing a specific project, you can probably have a few more little projects going on if you've got the AI helping you do the little projects.
Right.
Where I was going on, I didn't finish off previously, but about interviewing process and receiving
Right.
CVs and not knowing what's a good CV and a bad CV. Talking to someone yesterday that he put a job advert out, and they work in recruitment, and they wanted a recruiter. So it's going to be for making calls to clients and candidates, for example. Great example here. They had one job advert out on Indeed, and they got 150 literally applicants. So what they did with that whole 150, yes, they sieved it, they skimmed over them, but they then went back out to all the applicants and gave them a little brief of, we want you to give us now a video recording based on this brief.
Right.
How many do you think out of the 150? How many people do you think then sent in a video? And that's short on that 150 down to this number. So how many people do you think actually sent them back a recording?
Based on my experience, this when I did it, it's going to be small. I'd say. So we recruited a position about 9 months ago now, and out of I think we had 30 applications. There was probably four that submitted the video to us. So
Yeah,
what is
yeah.
this? Just over 10%.
So they got 40. So they got 40 videos back from the
Right.
150. So probably a little bit more percentage wise, but just a
Right.
great way of
Yeah.
sieving
Yeah.
down and getting the realness of someone as well in terms of video, because AI is just doing the whole CVs for them.
It's interesting, like what you're sharing there. So this bit about, okay, how can we introduce these kind of measures within a workforce? I touched on the Edward de Bono model around, okay,
Yeah.
well, what would be a skill that you can learn that helps with these kind of things? And really, for me, the Edward de Bono model, really, it's about the ideas that can help with change management. So if you're approaching how do we make this change, what can we do to make it feel less confusing, less stressful for a team? And when something new's happening, like we're going through at the moment, people often they react with worry, they react with
Yeah.
anger, perhaps excitement or even doubt. And De Bono's thinking method really helps people talk through the change in a calm and organised way, and it lets them look at the facts, share the feelings about things, spot problems, find the benefits together, and come up with better ideas together as well, which means that because people feel more involved, they're less defensive, they're more willing to accept the change as well, because there's an element of buy-in from the team. So
And
rather
if
than,
they know the whole plan as well, so they're
yeah,
not
yeah,
just getting little. A lot of sometimes probably a bit old school, but old school business owners just give people like little nuggets of what's going on. Whereas if you
100%.
actually share the full journey with people, they get on board a lot better.
Yeah, definitely. It's a bit like I see it as I heard this analogy the other day recently about like driving a car. So say you're the leader, you've got 5 team members in the car with you. If you're driving really fast, then there's an element of trust for the people in the back seat to know that you're manoeuvring in a way you know where you're going, you know you're driving safely. But the issue is that the further in the car that person is, the further back they are, they might not be fully aware of where you're driving to. Are you paying attention to where you're going? So again, that analogy is really helpful from a people ops perspective. It's okay, if you're driving that vehicle, make sure you let your people know in the back seat where you're going, what you're doing, what the strategy is, because they're going to be a lot more confident in your leadership ability if you've communicated that to them as well. And that's something that people, they get mindful of that as leaders. You know this, Alex. Yeah, we know this. Your head's above the parapet. There's an element of accountability that comes with being a leader. And sometimes leaders can be a bit hesitant to share information. And I'm a massive believer in radical truth, radical transparency, because it helps people. Don't get me wrong, there are elements of governance things that you have to be mindful of that you don't necessarily share with people in your team for the reasons that it adds integrity to the whole governance piece that you're trying to achieve. But for things like this, I think for me, if a school changed its rules, its timetable, or its technology, then what we need to do is help those students and teachers look at the facts, share the concerns, and find solutions without turning it into drama. And organisations are very similar to the way schools are. When you're growing up, when you're in high school, there's an element of organisational design to the school and how you do things. From an education perspective, it's incredibly important, like you say, to get on that training. I'd encourage listeners, if you're listening to the podcast, if you're thinking, what can we do to go to the next step? Speak to Alex, get on some training. It might give you a real light bulb moment in terms of what's the first step you can take to adopt AI in a way that's going to be healthy for your business and healthy for your leadership team. And for me, the key message today in this podcast is, if you're going to adopt it, when you're going to adopt it, clear communication is going to be not only about the good technology, it's about giving them the training, it's about making sure that people are staying competitive. What would you say are some of the sort of market pressures and staying competitive points at the moment that you see a lot? So the window for being an early adopter is closing. I'd confidently say that you and I are very much early adopters to this when it comes to AI. We both love AI. We're very much into the finding ways to help people using it as well. But what would you say those that wait will find it harder to catch up? Do you think, is that a fair assessment, or?
There's a lot of storming and forming at the minute, I think, in terms of
Right.
understanding what is the right tool to use and not tool. Like, a good example is I'm working with a business at the minute that was a massive early adopter, bought an AI software in last year. He's not using it because he got
Right.
sold the dream and then didn't understand that he needs to train it himself to work in his business for it to work properly for him. So
Right.
and he was just too busy to put the time into training it. And that was having various different agents working in your business that would do different roles for you.
Right.
So that's just a good example of someone storming ahead to do it. But I'm still like, we touched on it earlier, just keep it simple. The tech world moves quick. There's a new app come out for this, there's that come out for that, there's that come out for that. Like, the big players in the world, I'm talking your Googles, your Apples, that world, and there's a few unknowns that people now know about OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, and they also know about Claude as well. Some new players in the world that are there in that LLM world, but still you've got Microsoft and Google up there, and their
Mm-hmm.
platforms are solid platforms that are well embedded in businesses.
Right.
They have got these tools to help you. Teams recordings, for example, through to Google Meet as well. If they've all got the
Hmm.
functions to record, transcribe, dial into meetings, if it's online meetings, if it's a little bit different if it's in person,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
there's like some good apps out there for in terms of in-person meetings as well that operate on your desktop but also on your phone at the same time. Which
Right.
again, you can sit in a meeting with someone face to face and record a meeting and still get the full transcribe if that makes sense. That then goes
Hmm.
into the that
So
then
is
gives
that you're
you.
referring to is it that the Fireflies that you
Yeah, I
mentioned
use
last time?
Fireflies. Like, there's also Otter out there. That's a really good one as well.
Right.
That just because you've got the app based as well as it being desktop based, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it works really well in terms of you can go and sit in a room and just I go and sit with clients face to face and to understand their business. And I'm literally just first thing I do is look, I'm going to record this meeting. It's not like vindictive or anything, or don't worry about
No.
it saying anything. It's literally just to save me sitting there writing the notes. I've literally from my world from organising and running and chairing meetings in the past, you're there, you're not
Yeah. Yeah.
engaged in the meeting because you're just so busy, like writing down, not wanting to miss anything. It went
100%.
down rather than minutes, went down to just action. You don't need to do any of that now. You can be fully engaged in the meeting because it's just recorded for you. You just got to
So
keep
this
making sure it's
authenticity
recorded.
that comes from that, though, I think this is the bit that perhaps the AI, like Fireflies, for example, they don't necessarily touch on this too much. It allows you to be present. It allows you to be mindful as well. If people know the meeting's being recorded, in my view, that's quite useful from the radical truth, radical transparency perspective. People are a lot more on the game. It makes them more accountable for the work that they
Yeah,
do as well. And I love that. I think that high accountability, in my mind, also means great alignment as well within that business because you're keeping on track. You're keeping similar to what we're doing on the podcast now. We've got an agenda, but because we know what the agenda is, it's making us a lot more present in the conversation so we can have a more natural conversation and play to our strengths, which is the
yeah,
creativity piece. That's the bit that AI isn't good at. It's not good at the authenticity, at the humanization piece. That's what we're there to do. So yeah, absolutely. Fireflies, Otter. So Copilot as well. I'd be interested to know because these are the typical things. Like the businesses we deal with, they've
yeah,
got plenty of people that working for them. The key talking points is okay. What would give them like a competitive advantage? And you touched on something about Copilot. So a lot of businesses we speak to, they're using Microsoft 365. Copilot's embedded in that. Google as well. If you're in the G Suite camp, many businesses are now. They've got their own models. Is it Gemini from memory for
yeah,
their models?
yeah.
How can they use these effective tools, Alex? Like from what you've seen, what are simple things that they can say? Look, I'm going to just do a little small test here. What would be their first thing they can do?
I would first of all just start engaging with like emails, like literally replying to emails, drafting emails, that
Right.
side of it, and then advance in then to document review. Like there's documents that are already in the business where you want to find a little bit of information out from a huge policy you've got, for example, or a client might send a contract, for example, and you can feed the contract into the LLM to review the
Hmm.
contract. What you can do is you can put two contracts in. You could put one contract in that's a contract that you know that you can agree to. A new contract comes in the door. You can literally throw them both in and ask you to give you an analysis of the two contracts so that you know where the anomalies are. And
I'm
it
with
will
you.
do where in past we've been sat there reading it and spending hours and hours piecing contracts together or policies. That element of reading is being done for you like that.
Absolutely. And it's not capturing like it'll capture the high leverage, the key information within that document, not necessarily the padding. So you get the principles from it, and you can learn from those
Yeah, and
principles
that
and
and
share them
that's
with your team.
that's about understanding the prompt you put in. So you're putting the
Yeah,
information in, but then you've got to put the right prompt in, and by engineering that prompt in the right way. And it's not, don't overthink it. It's not complicated, but that you're asking it to do a task. So
absolutely.
it's a bit like, oh, Dave, I want you to go and lay that brick over there. You send him off, but actually, Dave, I want you to go and lay that brick over there. But remember, that's the corner of the building. You need to make sure it's plumb. You need to make sure it's like the angle's right. You need to check the depth of it. it's the detail that you're asking it rather than just sending it, pointing it off and shooting it. You're actually giving it a bit of context to what you want to get out of it. And that's this ideal prompt scenario. It's like describing how you want it to go off and do the task for you.
Yeah, it's mega. I love this. I mean, Simon Sinek speaks a lot about clarity and giving people clarity as a leader. And the bit that I'm hearing most from you there is around, again, use this analogy. I did a video on this a while ago. It's on our socials, where if you're saying to somebody, I want you to move from one side of a room to another, and you shove a chair in front of them, the likelihood is, as you shove that chair in front of them, they're going to stop and look at you as the leader and go, what do I do next? Whereas if we reverse that slightly, but this time give people very clear clarity on where in the room are they going, point clearly to where they need to be, give them the clarity. As you shove a chair in front of them, they're going to walk around the chair and go to where you ask them to go to. So that clarity helps so much when it comes to empowering people to overcome the challenges that they're facing, and the clarity that comes from a prompt is incredibly important as well. So what would you say is like the single most useful thing a business owner could do this week to start using AI better?
Use it. Literally would just say, literally, if you've got Copilot or you haven't got Copilot, if you've got like Microsoft 365, you should already have it there anyway. It'll be on a little button on the top right hand side. You can click on it, it'll give you a little drop down screen to the right hand side. Just start having a play with it. And you'll just experiment, like get it replying to a few emails, just ask it or reply to an email you've received, and that's the direction I want you to go in from that, and just see what it does. Put a couple of documents into it as well by opening up separately. That's your LLMs. That's like the simple basics. Like we go right from like the simple basics. The training side of it is very powerful, especially just knowledge in teams and getting sure that security's right and that everyone's doing the same thing in the business. Right. You don't want to be disjointed, if that makes sense. So that's another really powerful element to do. And then like experiment with what types of automation you could bring into your business, like training software robots to come and start doing simple tasks that you might have a department that's overwhelmed, for example, finance department, another like onboarding process. Like I was talking to a construction company the other week, and they're looking at how can we do a lot of work in terms of we get a new project, so much documentation that's created through that one project, through the RAMs, the risk assessments, the health and safety documentation, all to be put into one place.
Right.
And it's actually a good point in terms of health and safety, and going off a bit off piece for HR, but I think it's late. There's a lot of companies out there that are going out to jobs, doing jobs like little jobs, for example, and they've not got like their RAMs in place for doing that job. Right. You could automate a process that as soon as you've got a new job, it automatically creates all your RAMs for you.
I'm with you.
And puts it all in place and emails it out to the person that's going out to the job, for example. That's the automation side of it. But to understand the automation in more detail, like I'll quite happily go into a business and do a free audit in terms of where automation sits in the business.
They would genuinely benefit from that.
Every business would be able to implement from you spoke earlier about your clients of between 5 to 8 million up to 30 million, larger, small to medium sized enterprises. They 100% will be able to automate an element of their work, and that is by training a digital assistant in the business, and it will massively free people's time up, which in turn then saves time is money, isn't it, at the end of the day?
It is, absolutely, yeah. I mean, the bit that I'm curious about there as well is, so HR, health and safety, they do walk hand in hand with each other. Don't get me wrong, they are two different animals, but at the same time, there's a lot of crossover. Arguably, health and safety is much more serious because at the same time, you're looking after people's lives, the duty of care there, you're keeping people healthy, which I'd argue you're doing that with good HR as well.
Morale is massive as well. Morale in a business, if you've got a team with morale, you've got a more effective team, haven't you? And that's about
100%
from the top with how they're being led. But then if you're not got people like in the trenches and in the weeds, like the morale is so much better. So the productivity of the business just rises automatically.
Yeah, my view on good people ops is it's giving people, empowering people to have headspace to do the more creative work and to enjoy the time. We spend a hell of a lot of time at work, Alex. Like the mission we're on really with the HR Doctor is we're creating best places to work. That's ultimately what we do. And
Yeah, yeah.
the key thing, okay, how could a company who's listening to this, a business leader who's listening to this, implement something? So you spoke about digital assistants. Like, one of the things that we've got a product called the HR Doctor. It's an app that you can download on your phone. And what I always recommend people to do initially is use it. It's like having a 24/7, 365 HR expert in your pocket that you can ask a question. And it's great for people leaders who need a steer. And
Yeah, yeah.
imagine for a moment that you're paying somebody £400 a month for this service. Now, I'm a massive believer as the founder in the HR Doctor to offer value first. So we offer this for free. It's a free tool that people can use. They can download it on the phones. And the reason I do that is that the work that we do, the implementation work that we do with other businesses, the monies are reinvested back into the company. It doesn't go into massive marketing spend. It goes into how do we create a great product for organisations. And that product's the HR Doctor. And we offer it for free because we want to give back as well. We want to make sure people are utilising it, that they get the steer they need. And it puts them back on track again. It's very user-friendly to use. And it's there to act as that digital assistant, so it frees people's times up to focus on the things that matter most to them and the work, the mission that they're on as a business. So they're not necessarily in the compliance weeds of can we or can we not do this. It guides them, it gives them a steer. So the reason I mention that is that a lot of people, when they think, oh, it's a free tool, they immediately think it's not particularly good. So that's why they're offering it for free. But it's a mega tool that people can use. There's been a huge amount of investment gone into it to just really build people's understanding of what good HR looks like. And like I say, use it, test it, see what you think about it, feed it back. So, that's something that I'm certainly working on a lot at the moment in how people can find us. It's literally available on the App Store. It's available on Google Play, all that kind of stuff. And you can go on the website, download it from there. But these are the first steps towards adopting AI. So if you're a business that doesn't necessarily have its own internal HR team, or it's great for internal HR teams too, because it can give people a bit of a steer on, am I doing the right thing? And it gives people confidence to then go away and have that conversation with a real human, knowing that they're fully prepped and guided in a way that's useful for them too. So upcoming resources from your side. What would you say? You mentioned the review that you do, like the diagnostic that you do. Have you got any events or tools that you'd like to guide the audience to? So we'll definitely put them in on the back of today's podcast.
I think in terms of like understanding where it sits, like first of all, like if anyone's curious, like I post on LinkedIn almost daily with
Right.
like little nuggets, trying to support businesses basically with adoption and where to look best for where AI can help them. We offer an AI audit, which is where we do an audit. There's two elements to that really we do. There's one element which is £995, and for that you get a deep dive in your business, you get some quick wins, and you get a roadmap and a strategy, if that makes sense. So that actually maps out and gives you a journey for how you can embed AI. So that's one element. The other element is the training, and I'll send you a link to share to get onto the training and a specific code as well that
Brilliant.
So people get a bit of a discount on that there as well for the training side of it.
Yeah.
And then in terms of if people are looking at, actually, we're already playing about with Copilot, we're already doing this, but I want to look at how I can actually do some end-to-end automation in my business. Mm-hmm. So that's like AI-powered intelligent automation that is training the digital assistants, the software robots to work in the business. Then I'll do a free audit in terms of that with the business and drop on a discovery call and talk through their processes, their departments, their business to understand then where AI-powered intelligent automation can sit in their business at the same time. So there's a few little nuggets. In terms of webinars, I've got a webinar that I'm planning for June that's going to be a bit of a learn how you can embrace AI in your business. Just before I went away last week, I recorded, it was about AI in finance and how it can help finance departments. So that's been recorded. That's just with the snippet shop at the minute. So there'll be content that will be going out in terms of that as well. And it's just creating content for learning, basically, so people understand where it will fit and work in their business.
Yeah, and coming back to that point about the de Bono method, and these are the things that help massively, these learning resources. They make people less defensive, more willing to accept changes, and it can guide people through step by step, which is,
Yeah.
I find that's the bit where if organisations are going to adopt this, there needs to be an understanding around, in my view, like how can we best frame this to the team, because there are concerns out there amongst
People
people.
don't like change at the end of the day. Like there's
Exactly.
change is coming. Like I'm not saying that because just to scare people or scare them.
No,
Like this is happening.
it's
It's
realism.
like, and there's a lot of stuff going on in the world as well at the minute where people are a bit like apprehensive about like life in general. And
Yeah,
then you've
yeah,
got new wave of technology that's coming along slowly, which not quite quickly actually. If people don't embrace it, they're going to fall behind because their
absolutely.
competitors will be using it and will
Yes,
be then in turn getting that 6 days a week out of 5.
100%.
So like it's about trying to stay with it and not be scared of it. The support is there. Like by just using it, and if people are feeling like overwhelmed by that, then we offer support in many ways in terms of just me sitting with a business owner and running through their strategy, through to some training, and through to doing an audit where automation can sit in your business. So the support is there. If I keep it simple,
100%.
it's about keeping it simple. If you keep it simple, people aren't necessarily overwhelmed because you're painting the picture in the head of how it's going to look for them.
Yeah, definitely. We're very much a values-based business with the HR Doctor, and there's two values that are sticking in my mind at the moment that come out massively, speaking to what you say there. The first one is one of our values is start to get ahead. So do it. Figure it out as you're going through that process. And courage is doing what matters despite the fear, in my view. So we try and be as courageous as we can be in how we adopt technology, how we service clients, how we support our customers really with their requirements. And for me, that's about you starting to get ahead. You've got to start though. And ultimately, folks, for anybody listening here, there is no tomorrow. There's only now. Be present. This gives you the kind of headspace that you need, in my view. These tools that Alex has shared with us today, the headspace to be authentic with your team, to get close to them, to communicate healthily. And that, for me, is the key takeaway today. Let's use it as a multiplier. This is a tool that we can use that can magnify our strengths. And ultimately, things are moving fast. And it's really important that most business owners that I'm speaking to, that there's an aspect of, there's a bit of fear there, but also there's an anxiety around they don't want to get left behind either. And that's something that Alex can help with. I'd encourage you all to get in touch. All the information is going to be in the links below. When the podcast, once it's out on YouTube and across our socials, there'll be loads of information in there about how to connect up with Alex, so we can hook you up there. I just want to say thank you for sharing your knowledge with us today, your experiences, and really appreciate you coming on the podcast, Alex.
It's been a pleasure.